The broadcast. The holographic display in Earth's Central Command filled the room with an eerie purple glow. Commander Sarah Chen stood rigid, her weathered face illuminated by the harsh light as the transmission began. The Zephyrian Alliance's insignia, a twisted helix of stars, rotated slowly before dissolving into a live feed. Supreme Arbiter Khazar's serpentine form dominated the screen, his iridescent scales gleaming under the ceremonial lights of the Great Hall. Behind him, 3 human children huddled together, their school uniforms still bearing the patches of their lunar colony. Their faces showed a terror no child should know. Witnesses of the galaxy, Khazar's voice resonated with artificial harmony. Behold the price of human defiance. His auxiliary arms gestured to the children. These specimens represent humanity's future, a future we shall now correct. The command center erupted in shouts as officers lunged toward screens and communication panels. Chen's knuckles whitened around the edge of her console. "Track that signal," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Get me everything on that transmission." Signals bouncing through quantum relays across 17 systems. "Commander," Lieutenant Park reported, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "They wanted us to see this." The feed continued mercilessly. Khazar approached the children, his ceremonial robes flowing like liquid mercury. "The human species has rejected our guidance, our order, our peace. They cling to their primitive notions of independence, while the galaxy progresses without them." Chen watched as additional Zephyrian guards moved into frame, each carrying what appeared to be ceremonial weapons. But she knew better. Those weren't ceremonial. Her hand instinctively moved to the scar on her neck, a souvenir from her first encounter with those weapons 10 years ago. "Cut the feed," she commanded. "We can't, Commander. They've locked us out of our own systems." Khazar's voice continued, almost gentle now. "Let this serve as education." He raised his primary arm, and the weapons hummed to life. Chen turned away as screams filled the command center. When she looked back, the feed showed only Khazar, his scales now shimming with satisfaction. "Remember this moment, humans. Your children died because you chose pride over progress. There will be more demonstrations until you understand your place in our galaxy." The transmission cut to black, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Chen's tablet chirped, a priority message from Fleet Admiral Zhang. She already knew what it would say. This wasn't just an execution. It was a declaration of war. "Get me Strike Team Echo," she ordered, her voice steady despite the rage burning in her chest. "And find me everything we have on the Zephyrian capital world." They wanted to teach us a lesson. Let's show them how humans answer their teachers. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of tactical meetings and strategic planning. Chen stood in the briefing room, surrounded by holographic maps of Zephyrian space. Before her, the 5 members of Strike Team Echo sat in grim silence as she outlined their mission. Captain Maya Rodriguez, Echo's leader, studied the rotating hologram of the Zephyrian capital. Her cybernetic eye whirred softly as it processed the data. "Those barriers are rated for capital ship impacts, Commander. Getting in won't be easy." "That's why you're not going through them," Chen replied, zooming the map to show a network of maintenance tunnels. "You're going under them." Lieutenant James Cooper, the team's tech specialist, leaned forward. "Their security grid will detect any ship larger than a meteor. Then you won't be using a ship." Chen activated another hologram, showing what appeared to be a collection of space debris. "You'll be using these decommissioned satellites retrofitted with stealth tech. They'll read as space junk until you're inside their atmosphere. Then you'll have exactly 8 minutes to reach the surface before their orbital scans cycle again." Sergeant Sarah O'Neill, demolitions expert, grinned, "Falling with style. I like it." The briefing continued as Chen outlined the intelligence they'd gathered. More children had been taken, at least 20 from various colonies. The Zephyrians were keeping them in their hierarchical chamber, the same building where the execution had been broadcast. "Your primary objective is rescue," Chen emphasized. But if you get the chance, she didn't need to finish the sentence. The look in her operative's eyes told her they understood. As the team filed out to prepare, Rodriguez lingered. "Commander," she said quietly, "there's something you're not telling us." Chen waited until the others had left. "The children they executed, they were from New Horizon Colony. My sister's children among them." She met Rodriguez's gaze. "Bring them hell, Captain." Rodriguez's cybernetic eye glowed with quiet fury. "With pleasure, Commander." As Chen watched Strike Team Echo depart for their mission, she thought about the message the Zephyrians had tried to send. They thought they were teaching humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, they were about to learn a very different lesson. Never underestimate a species that had clawed its way up from the mud to reach the stars. The war had begun, and humanity's answer would be written in fire across the sky. Strike Team Echo. The debris field surrounding Zephyria Prime sparkled like broken glass in the system's twin suns. Among the countless fragments of destroyed ships and ancient satellites, 5 pieces of space junk moved with subtle purpose. Inside one of these disguised pods, Captain Maya Rodriguez checked her tactical display one final time. "Final systems check," she subvocalized through the neural link connecting Strike Team Echo. The responses came in quick succession. "Weapons primed. Lieutenant Sarah O'Neill. Tech suite operational. Lieutenant James Cooper. Medical systems green. Dr. Kai Chen. Recon package ready. Sergeant Marcus Webb." Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. The team had trained together for 3 years, but this would be their greatest test. The pods had to maintain perfect formation during atmospheric entry, or the Zephyrian defense grid would spot the pattern and identify them as artificial. "Remember," she transmitted, "we hit atmosphere in 2 minutes. After that, we have 8 minutes to reach the surface and infiltrate the maintenance tunnels. 1 deviation, 1 error, and we'll have the entire Zephyrian fleet on us." The planet grew larger in her viewport, its purple-tinged atmosphere swirling with storms. Somewhere down there, children waited for rescue, not knowing help was literally falling from the sky. Rodriguez thought of Commander Chen's face when she'd revealed the personal cost of the Zephyrians' cruelty. This wasn't just a mission anymore, it was justice. "Entering upper atmosphere in 30 seconds, Cooper announced. "Beginning entry sequence." Rodriguez felt the pod shudder as it hit the first layers of atmosphere. The temperature in the cabin began to rise despite the cooling systems. Through her neural link, she could sense the tension from her team as they all fought to maintain perfect trajectory. The next 6 minutes were a controlled fall through fire. Warning indicators flashed as the pod's outer shells began to break apart, exactly as planned. They were disguised as debris after all. They had to look like they were burning up on re-entry. "Grid scan incoming," Cooper warned. 15 seconds. Rodriguez held her breath as the invisible wave of Zephyrian sensors swept past them. 1 anomaly, 1 pattern. "Clear," Cooper reported, relief evident in his voice. "We're through the grid. 2 minutes to surface." The pods broke through the cloud layer, revealing the sprawling capital city below. The hierarchical chamber rose from the center like a twisted spire, its surface covered in the same iridescent material as the Zephyrian scales. "Target locked," Rodriguez announced. "Prepare for dispersal." At precisely 500 meters above the surface, the pods split apart completely. Strike Team Echo emerged in their tactical suits, their descent now controlled by gravity manipulation fields. They landed in 5 different maintenance access points, each one carefully selected to avoid security sensors. "Sound off," Rodriguez ordered as she disabled her gravity field and drew her weapon. One by one, her team confirmed their successful insertion. They were in. The maintenance tunnels were a maze of pipes and conduits, all designed for the larger Zephyrian physiology. This worked to the team's advantage. The security systems weren't calibrated for smaller human signatures. "Cooper, get me a layout," Rodriguez ordered as they regrouped at their first checkpoint. The tech specialist deployed a series of microdrones, each no larger than an insect. Mapping now. Picking up significant power signatures, 3 levels up. That's got to be where they're holding the kids. O'Neill checked her demolition charges. Want me to arrange a distraction? Not yet. We need to confirm the hostage's location first. Rodriguez turned to Dr. Chen. How long can your medical suite keep the children stable during exfiltration? Depends on their condition, the medic replied grimly. But I've got enough synthetic adrenaline and stabilizers to keep them moving. Sergeant Webb, who had been monitoring the security feeds through his recon suite, suddenly held up a hand. Movement. 3 guards approaching maintenance junction C7. The team pressed themselves against the walls as heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnels. Rodriguez's enhanced vision caught glimpses of the Zephyrian guards through gaps in the pipes. They were wearing ceremonial armor similar to what they'd seen in the broadcast. After the guards passed, Cooper's drones returned with their mapping data. He projected a holographic layout of the facility. Found them. Detention level, North Quadrant, 23 human life signs. 23. Rodriguez frowned. Intelligence said 20. They're taking more, Dr. Chen growled. This isn't just about making this statement anymore. Rodriguez studied the layout, formulating a plan. They could reach the detention level through the environmental control system, but the security would be heavier there. They'd need a distraction. O'Neill, take Webb and plant charges at these power junction points. She indicated several spots on the map. Cooper, I need you to hack their communication system. When the charges blow, I want you to flood their channels with emergency protocols. Dr. Chen, prep your medical suite. We're going to have to move fast once we get those kids. As her team moved to their positions, Rodriguez checked her weapon one final time. The Zephyrians thought their superior technology and biological advantages made them untouchable. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its strength. It was its determination. Commander Chen, she subvocalized through their quantum-encrypted channel. Strike Team Echo is in position. Beginning rescue operation. The response came back clear and cold. Show them no mercy, Captain. Rodriguez smiled in the darkness of the maintenance tunnel. That's the plan. Infiltration. The first explosion rocked the hierarchical chamber with enough force to crack its crystalline windows. As alarms blared and Zephyrian guards rushed to respond, Strike Team Echo was already moving through the chaos with practiced precision. Security protocols initiating, Cooper reported through the neural link. Flooding their systems now. Rodriguez watched as the facility's emergency lights shifted from purple to red. Through the transparent sections of flooring, she could see Zephyrian forces rushing in multiple directions, confused by the contradicting emergency protocols Cooper had inserted into their system. O'Neill, status. She subvocalized. Secondary charges set. Waiting for your mark. They reached the detention level access point, where Dr. Chen's medical scanners confirmed the presence of human biosignatures. Rodriguez raised her fist, signaling the team to hold position as a patrol of guards rushed past their position. Webb, what's the situation in the detention block? The recon specialist's response came with accompanying visual data through their neural link. 4 guards inside, 2 at the entrance. They're agitated. The explosions have them on edge. Rodriguez processed this information quickly. They needed to breach the detention block before the Zephyrians decided to move the children. O'Neill, detonate secondary charges on my mark. Cooper, be ready to cut power to this section. Dr. Chen, prep emergency sedatives. Some of these kids might panic. She took a deep breath. Then, mark. The second wave of explosions hit just as Cooper killed the power to their section. In the moment of darkness before the emergency systems activated, Strike Team Echo moved. Rodriguez's enhanced vision caught every detail as they breached the detention block. The Zephyrian guards, their scales reflecting the emergency lights, barely had time to register the human attackers before precision shots from Webb's rifle dropped them. The cells lined both walls, their force fields still active despite the power cut. Backup systems. Inside, children of various ages huddled together, their faces showing mixed expressions of fear and hope at the sight of human rescuers. Cooper, get these cells open. Dr. Chen, start triage. O'Neill, Webb, watch our backs. As Cooper worked on the cell controls, Rodriguez approached the nearest group of children. "We're here to take you home," she said, keeping her voice steady and calm. "I need you all to be brave for just a little longer. Can you do that?" They nodded, their eyes wide but determined. These kids had already endured more than any child should. Rodriguez felt a surge of pride. Even the youngest among them showed the resilience that defined humanity. "Cells are open," Cooper announced. "But we've got a problem. I'm picking up major power fluctuations from above. They're preparing something in the ceremonial chamber." Dr. Chen, already administering stabilizing agents to the weakest children, looked up. "These kids aren't in good shape, Captain. The Zephyrians have been conducting some kind of tests. I'm seeing unusual chemical markers in their bloodstream." Rodriguez's jaw tightened. This wasn't just about making an example anymore. The Zephyrians were studying human children for something. How many can move under their own power? Maybe half. The rest will need to be carried. "Captain," Webb cut in urgently, "we've got incoming. Large group, heavily armed. They're moving with purpose. Someone's coordinating them despite our communication interference." Rodriguez made a quick decision. Change of plans. "O'Neill, set your remaining charges on the level above us. Cooper, find me a direct route to their landing bays. We're not going back through the maintenance tunnels." "The landing bays?" Cooper questioned. "That's going to put us right in their lines." "Exactly. They won't expect us to be that bold." Rodriguez turned to the children. "Listen carefully. We're going to move fast, and it might be scary, but I promise you, we're getting off this planet. The strong help the weak. Stay together, stay quiet, and do exactly what we tell you." As her team prepared for their desperate push to the landing bays, Rodriguez received a priority alert through her neural link. The message was from Commander Chen. "Captain, be advised, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Zephyrian fleet. They're mobilizing for something big." Rodriguez looked at the children being helped to their feet by her team. Whatever the Zephyrians were planning, it would have to wait. Right now, these kids were all that mattered. "Understood, Commander. But we're about to give them something else to worry about." She switched to the team channel. "Strike Team Echo. New objective. We're not just escaping. We're stealing one of their ships." O'Neill's grin was audible in her response. "Now that's what I call an exit strategy. The price of revenge." The Zephyrian transport ship's corridors echoed with the sound of battle. Rodriguez led her team through the winding passages, the rescued children huddled between them in a protected formation. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew closer. "Cooper, status on those engine controls," Rodriguez demanded as she fired a burst of covering fire around a corner. "Almost there," the tech specialist replied, his neural interface connected to the ship's alien systems. "Their security protocols are adaptive, but I've almost got it." The deck beneath them hummed as engines came to life. Dr. Chen was moving among the children, administering emergency care where needed. "Captain, these readings are getting worse. Whatever they did to these kids, it's not stable." O'Neill set another charge at a junction behind them. "That'll slow them down, but we've got bigger problems." Webb's recon drones are showing heavy weapons being moved into position around the landing bay. Rodriguez processed this information quickly. They had 23 traumatized children, dwindling ammunition, and an entire Zephyrian security force between them and freedom. But they also had something the Zephyrians didn't expect: desperation. "Cooper, access the ship's weapon systems. O'Neill, get ready to blow every charge you have left. Webb, I need an exact count and position of those heavy weapons." Through their neural link, Webb's data flowed into her tactical display. 3 heavy pulse cannons, positioned to create overlapping fields of fire. 50-plus guards in defensive positions, and above, energy readings suggested shield generators powering up to trap them in the bay. They're not trying to stop us, Rodriguez realized. They're trying to capture us. They want more test subjects. She turned to the oldest of the rescued children, a girl of about 12 who'd been helping keep the younger ones calm. "What's your name?" "Sarah," the girl replied, her voice steady despite her obvious fear. "Sarah, I need you and the others to hold on tight to whatever you can find. This next part is going to be rough." The girl nodded, already moving to organize the other children. Rodriguez felt a surge of pride. Even after everything they'd been through, these kids showed incredible strength. "Strike Team Echo, new plan. Cooper, override all safety protocols on the engines. O'Neill, link your charges to my signal. Webb, mark those heavy weapon positions for a strafing run. Dr. Chen, secure those kids. We're going to turn this whole ship into a battering ram." Her team moved with practiced efficiency, understanding her plan without need for further explanation. This was why they were the best, not just their skills, but their ability to adapt and act as one. The Zephyrian forces were still moving into position when Rodriguez gave the order. The ship's engines screamed as Cooper pushed them beyond safety limits. O'Neill's charges detonated in sequence, destabilizing the entire landing bay structure. As the ship lifted off, its weapon systems targeted the marked positions with surgical precision. The resulting chaos was spectacular. The Zephyrians, expecting a traditional escape attempt, were completely unprepared for the ship to simply plow through their defenses. Their heavy weapons, positioned to trap a fleeing vessel, were useless against one that charged straight at them. But they weren't clear yet. As they burst through the atmospheric shield, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple pursuit craft launching," Webb reported. "Planetary defense grid activating." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Send this data to Commander Chen. Show her what they've been doing to these children. The fleet will know what to do." As if in answer to her words, space itself seemed to tear open as humanity's response arrived. The Earth fleet dropped out of FTL directly into attack position, their weapons already firing. The Zephyrian pursuit craft scattered in the face of this unexpected resistance. "Message from the fleet," Cooper announced. "Commander Chen says, 'Good work, Strike Team Echo. Now let us show them how humanity protects its children.'" As their stolen ship raced toward the safety of the fleet, Rodriguez looked at the rescued children. They were watching through the viewport as Earth's ships engaged the Zephyrians, their faces showing not fear, but something else. Hope, understanding, the knowledge that they would never be left behind. The Zephyrians had tried to teach humanity a lesson about power. Instead, they'd learned one about determination, about the lengths to which humans would go to protect their own, about the price of underestimating a species that had survived every challenge its own world had thrown at it before reaching for the stars. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was the beginning of something bigger. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had survived every extinction-level event its homeworld had thrown at it. And the lesson would be written in fire across the stars. Humanity's answer. The Earth Fleet's command center hummed with activity as Commander Chen watched the tactical displays. Strike Team Echo's stolen Zephyrian ship had just docked, its precious cargo of rescued children already being rushed to medical facilities. But the day's work wasn't finished. Analysis of Dr. Chen's medical data confirmed. "Commander," her science officer reported, face grim. "The Zephyrians weren't just making examples of our children. They were studying them, testing their resilience, their adaptability. They were trying to understand what makes humans survive." Chen's expression hardened as she studied the data scrolling across her screens. The Zephyrians had subjected children to increasingly severe conditions, measuring their responses, their recovery rates, their will to survive. They'd been searching for the source of humanity's greatest strength, its ability to endure and adapt. "Status of the Zephyrian fleet?" she asked, eyes never leaving the display. "Scattered, Commander. They didn't expect us to respond so quickly or in such force. Their defense grid is at full power, but their ships are in disarray. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the command channel. Strike Team Echo is ready for Phase 2, Commander. Just give the word. Chen took a moment to consider what they'd learned. The Zephyrians had chosen children as their test subjects, believing them to be humanity's weakest members. Instead, those same children had demonstrated exactly what made humans different. Even in captivity, they'd helped each other, adapted, survived. All ships, this is Commander Chen. The Zephyrians wanted to understand humanity's strength. Let's show them. She activated the fleet-wide channel. Execute Operation Mirror. The Earth fleet moved with synchronized precision. Ships shifted formation, their advanced stealth systems creating multiple phantom images. To the Zephyrian sensors, it must have looked like the fleet had suddenly multiplied. But this wasn't just about military might. As the fleet maneuvered, they began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not threats or demands, but the truth. The medical data showing what had been done to the children. The recordings of their captivity. The evidence of the Zephyrians' crimes. Transmitted to every species, every world, Chen ordered. Let the galaxies see what they've done and how we've responded. The response was immediate. Ships from other species began appearing at the edge of the system. Not to fight, but to witness. The Zephyrians had presented themselves as the galaxy's civilized teachers. Now their true nature was being exposed. Commander, her communications officer called out, we're receiving transmissions from multiple species. They're denouncing the Zephyrian alliance, severing diplomatic ties. On the tactical display, Shen watched as the Zephyrian fleet's formation crumbled. Their own allies were turning against them, their carefully constructed image of superiority shattering in the face of revealed truth. Supreme Arbiter Khazar is requesting to surrender, Commander, the comms officer reported. He's offering unconditional terms. Chen thought of the children in Medical Bay, of the strength they'd shown, of how they'd protected each other even in captivity. That was humanity's true power, not the ability to destroy, but the will to protect. Accept their surrender, she ordered, but inform the Supreme Arbiter that terms will be set by a galactic tribunal. Humanity won't be his judge. The entire galaxy will. As the Earth fleet secured the Zephyrian capital, Chen received one final report from Medical Bay. The children were recovering, their inherent resilience already helping them heal. They'd been through horror, but they'd emerged stronger, just like humanity always had. Commander, Rodriguez's voice came through again. What do we tell the children? Chen smiled slightly. Tell them the truth, that they've taught the galaxy a lesson about humanity. Not through cruelty or dominance, but through strength, resilience, and the power of standing together. The stars seemed brighter somehow as Chen looked out at the galaxy. The Zephyrians had wanted to understand humanity's strength. They'd thought it lay in their technology, their weapons, their physical capabilities. Instead, they'd learned it came from something far more fundamental, the unbreakable spirit that had carried humanity from its first steps on Earth to the stars themselves. And now the galaxy understood. Humanity's greatest power wasn't in its ability to wage war, but in its capacity to endure, to adapt, to protect its own. The Zephyrians had tried to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity had taught them about justice, about consequence, and about the true meaning of civilization. As reports continued to flow in from across the galaxy, Chen knew this was more than just a victory. It was a beginning. Humanity had shown itself to be not just a species capable of reaching the stars, but one worthy of being among them. The war was over. The lesson had been taught, and humanity's light would continue to shine among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as proof that true strength comes not from domination, but from the will to stand together against the darkness. The end.